All right, so let's get started here. I love making pita bread fresh. It's the best thing ever. You really don't need a lot, just need a little bit of time. So you're gonna start with some warm water. You wanna make sure that those yeast wake up. That's the reason it's warm. So you're gonna get your out of a packet. You can also have, I know there's kind of a more professional baker's yeast you can buy in Whole Foods, but the packets work great. And just use a little bit of yeast, a little bit of sugar, and that warm water. The sugar is going to give them something to eat, and then you want to see bubbles in there when you'll stir them together, and then you'll want to see some bubbles. That way you know that your yeast is active, ready to go. We gave it about 5 minutes or so on this handy dandy timer. After the yeast we knew was active, we added the olive oil, a little bit of bread flour. You could just use all-purpose flour. The bread flour is just a little bit stronger. So I think it holds up better in this recipe, but you could also use all-purpose flour, it'd probably be fine. And then you always want to make sure you're measuring. I always recommend a scale so that you can do everything exactly. It's so much harder to do with volumetric measurements. It's just, if you have a scale, your life is that much easier. So then what we're gonna do is, after all those ingredients are together, you're gonna mix it up, make sure that it comes together in a dough. And then after it does come together in the dough, you're gonna wanna build some gluten, so you're gonna wanna knead it for 1 to 3 minutes. You can always do a test where you tug on it like a baby's cheek and see if it doesn't tear, if it's just smooth and it's unable to tear as you tug on it. You know you're in a good spot. So this is about 1 to 3 minutes later. A nice little ball here. Just adjusting it so you can see it. And then we're gonna let this rest just for about an hour. So after an hour, the gluten is gonna strengthen, the yeast is gonna start to do its thing and create some air, and so it's gonna do all kinds of good things. So an hour later, you can see that it's just about doubled in size, and that's a good sign. You're gonna cut that up and roll it into 75-gram balls. You can also just do this by cut it into even portions. I like to do it by exact measurements, just so I know exactly what each ball is gonna be, and they're all the same. But you're gonna cut them, roll them into balls. You can kind of use the tension of, roll them against the table and use the tension there to create those balls. And now you're gonna cover those up and let them proof. So you wanna let those maybe half an hour. You can do a little longer, a little less, depending on how warm your kitchen is, how warm the day is, but those will proof up. And then while that time is happening, you're gonna wanna put a pizza stone in the oven and let that thing get hot. I would turn your oven up as hot as you can possibly do. And then you're gonna carefully, after those 30 minutes, carefully roll those balls out, put them into the oven. I put them on parchment paper, wait for them to puff, a little booster, get all excited, and they puff pretty quick. This is like maybe 60 seconds in. And so you're gonna wanna give them about 2 to 3 minutes. You can use your eyes. You can get them a little longer, they'll get a little bit more browning, but those looked pretty good for our purposes. They smelled awesome. We used some scissors to cut them up. In this case, we made some pulled lamb. That was also another multi-day process, but it was so good. And some fresh pickles, fresh pickled onions. All of this is homemade, and you have a delicious meal.